Welcome to another edition of the Picture Perfect podcast. I am Kat Osterman alongside my co-host, Holly Pierce. And today for season 2, we have our first guest, and it is someone extra special, a former teammate of mine. You guys doesn't really need an introduction, but Danielle Lawrie, a former Washington Husky, 2-time College Player of the Year, 2-time Olympian. She medaled in 2020 with Team Canada. Her and I played alongside each other with the USSSA Pride, so many years in the Pro League. I could go on and on. It would probably take another 10 minutes of this podcast. But more importantly, and I think kind of her pride and joy being a mom, and we're going to get into it a little bit today, but her journey as a mom, not just of a softball player, but of a pitcher. If you watched the Little League Softball World Series, you saw Maddie on there, and they gave Danielle her shout out, and she got to watch Maddie hit a home run. So we'll get into all those moments. But Danielle, thank you for joining us on the podcast to talk things pitching today.
This is fun. I'm glad. I've seen you guys last year, or I guess season 1, and I always tune in and listen. So it's cool. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, just to start, we're going to get more into, as I mentioned, you being mom and raising a pitcher right now. But just tell our listeners a little bit. How did you, I know for those that don't know, your brother played baseball. He was a professional player. So I know that had some tie, but how did you get into pitching specifically, and what part of it, hooked you?
Yeah, my dad was someone that definitely put us in a bunch of different sports. And I think my brother and I both gravitated more towards that bat and ball sport, and we competed and played with each other a lot. I started out on a team where I didn't really get to pitch a whole lot. It was kind of, the times are different. Coach, daughter pitch. The coach would let the daughter pitch all the time. And I just remember saying to my dad, I really want to try that, but I don't get much of an opportunity. So we switched teams, and then I just kind of learned. And listen, this was like slingshot pitching, not to age myself, but it was that's when you just kind of first started. When I was 7 years old, 8 years old, and definitely wasn't good at it. But I think at the end of the day, as the more work you put into it, the better you get. And I just loved being able to have the ball in my hand. I appreciated the moments. I loved that type of pressure. I just loved kind of getting to control and command the game, I guess. And ultimately, fell in love with that piece. There is this art to becoming great at it, but that didn't come for a while, right? It's really learning to love just kind of the hard and the trainings and why do I want to do this? And so I know for how hard my dad was, and you can probably attest because your dad was always, pitching and stuff with you. You have to love the work. I feel like we're living more in a society now where we're so outcome based and wanting all the shiny things. And you really got to fall in love with the process, because the process is the one thing that I look back on in my career where I fell in love with the game because of that, because of the work, the boring, all of those things. So that's really what made me kind of fall in love with pitching. And I just loved working hard at it and ended up being able to be pretty good.
You talk about the process and the hard work. Was there ever a moment where you're kind of aha moment, not of I just want to do this, but I could be really good at this?
Yeah, probably when I was 15. I remember the junior national team coach was out at our practice. Noreen Murphy was her name. And she was just kind of out scouting. And this was for the 19 and under junior national team. And someone had made mention of they're looking for maybe one more player to add to their roster. And I was one of those players. And I think that's kind of what catapulted me into even thinking that I could play this game at the next level. And went over to Nanjing, China. And, it was crazy. I don't think you were there, because I remember Monica being over there, and Monica had just signed to go to Tennessee. And it was kind of a big deal. You'd hear all of these things, but I was a 15-year-old kind of Canadian kid. We don't watch any of these things. None of that stuff was on TV like it is now. It was a little bit. I mean, you and I, the World Cup of Softball 05 was kind of the first stuff that was really, really on TV. So I remember going over to Nanjing, China, and just hearing about Monica Abbott and seeing Team USA and hearing about those players and where they were going. And I was oh, dang, maybe I could do this, right? And it was actually Tony Rico who was one of the first guys that instilled this different confidence in me at the Canada Cup where he was like, I think you could really like play this game at the next level. You need to start doing XYZ and putting your name out there. I'm going to put your name out there. And he definitely saw, obviously, I didn't play with his travel ball team, but he saw something in me. And I think putting myself in that position to play with the junior team at a young age and saying yes to that opportunity, because it could have been easy to say no at 15 playing with a bunch of 18, 19-year-old women. Like, it's intimidating. But my dad's like, you got to do it. Like that, those are the uncomfortable moments that I hope that my kids get the opportunity to go through, because a lot of growth and a lot of things that I wish that I would have done differently at that age, going through that like would be great ways to help my kids try to navigate those moments if they do ever get those opportunities. But 15 and under, when I was 15 with that 19 and under national team, and then just kind of hearing Tony Rico like instill that, I think was huge for me.
I love that story. And the last time you told me that and I kind of relayed that onto him, I
Mhm.
think that he can't get enough of that story, because I don't think he didn't realize at that time the impact that it had on you. And
Yeah,
I think that it's really telling now as now that we're coaches, the impact that you can have on younger players and maybe not even realize in that moment until years down
mhm.
the road, when however many years that is now, that he's hearing for the first time and realizing that that was an impactful moment for you. But it just
Yeah,
makes me think, like, us now in this position as coaches, like, who's the player that, you may say one thing and not think a whole lot about how the impact it's going to have down the road.
for sure. You don't know what you don't know, right? And like back, I was a 15-year-old ignorant kid, didn't know that the athletic piece was the scholarship piece. Like the only way I could play in college was getting an athletic scholarship. Like that, there was no other way around it. Like we didn't have the financial means to go and play in the US with the exchange rate and all the things, you know what I mean? So for him to say that those opportunities were there, I think like registered in my brain of like, all right, well, let's get it. Like I feel like I'm good enough to do this. Someone's telling me I am. And then it was just all hell broke loose after that.
I
So
have a question for you. I mean, anybody that has watched not even just Danielle play, but also her commentate, the way she talks about the game, she's a badass. Like, you're a badass, right?
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
what, and I think from the certain, like, a few things that I've seen of your brother playing too, he's kind of got that fire that runs hot. I feel like you do as well. And
Yeah.
is that innate? How does that run in the family, like, so across the board, that you guys are just
Yeah.
this, like, high fire, very passionate, and like, what is that? Is that from your parents, your family? What is that?
From definitely, I say my dad. It's not that I leave my mom out, but I mean, she wasn't really an athlete, right? She was definitely a soft landing when you're going through the whole athletic piece and it's hard. But my dad, he was tough on us. And like, everything at times was a competition with my brother and I, whether it was stuff at the house, whether it was basketball, whether it was doing dishes, I mean, it was. And it's funny because I see myself at times doing that with my kids, with the littlest things, right? Of like, oh, you got to go. Can you go grab my brush upstairs? Like, okay, I'm going to time you. Let's see if you can do it under 12 seconds. And it's just like the smallest things that kind of give you that little extra. But I don't ever remember him having to have a ton of conversations with me about the ability to compete when I crossed the lines. But at times, our trainings and things we did were so tough that like I felt like when I did cross the lines, like that was the time to just go let it rip. Like I've done all the things, we've worked really hard. That's always kind of been my favorite part of the game. But he was tough, and I hated losing to my brother, and my brother hated losing to me. And it didn't happen very often where my brother lost to me. He beat me a lot. And he was tougher, but that was always good. Like it was fun to like kind of chase that piece, and we're both very, fortunate to do some great things in the game. And I look at a tough upbringing of like having to work hard for something and you can't make a lot of excuses. And, you'd have days where you're like, oh, I don't feel good and I don't want to go do this for sure. But you know damn well there's a lot of kids like, oh, I don't want to go to practice. Okay, you don't have to go today. What? That was just not how we were raised. Like, no, we're paying money. Like, these are the things. Like, the days you choose to go when you don't want to, like, those are kind of the building blocks that you need to be able to look back on when stuff does get hard. So definitely my dad and our upbringing was tough, but right in a world that, as we know, is you need to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Where in your career did like the confidence switch flip on? Because it's like one thing about Danielle Lawrie, like even when you lose, you're like just not my day. Like if you
Yeah.
do that battle 9 more times, you win. Like you really believe that. And so where did that confidence switch come from?
Man, I wish it happened sooner than it did, but I would say that '08 Olympic year, like I learned a lot in that year. I learned a lot about myself and the teammate that I was and the things that I wish that I would have done better. And also, I learned a lot about other people, that the way they treated me and just all the things. So that '08 year, taking that whole year off of school and then us losing, and, the way that we did, fourth place sucks. And when I look back on that, I know going back into my junior year, like Coach Tar was at the Olympics, and I remember hugging her after we lost that bronze medal game and just like telling her, like, there's no way we won't win. Like the things that I feel like I've learned, and, Kat, like a lot of it stemmed in the circle back in our time. Like that was huge. Like, you needed to be rock solid in the circle or your team was going to go to shit. You knew that because we had one arm that threw every single game. That's just the reality of where we were at. And I realized my freshman, sophomore year, mentally, I wasn't in a place that could handle the heat. Right. And I felt like that '08 Olympic year taught me a lot of lessons. I learned a lot about myself and my body and my work ethic, that I had to up that if I wanted more. If I wanted more respect for my teammates, if I wanted to hold them to the higher standard. It's a cool thing when you can say, like, we really want to win. So what are we going to do that? And when you follow those, it doesn't work that way for everyone. It's a hard ass thing to win. But when I look back and I just could see how hard we worked as a team and holding each other accountable, we had some great players, man. Like Ashley Charters, her and I were texting today. Like we just had some key pieces to our puzzle, but as you know, it does. It starts in the circle. And I knew that I had to do a lot of work. And that confidence came in that year of knowing, like, if I were to close the chapter on my softball career right now, what would people say about me? Not enough. Not enough good things. And so I knew that going in, having 2 years left to write whatever legacy I wanted to leave on a program with Washington. I didn't know, obviously, national team stuff and how much longer I'd play, but I wanted a different ending for after the first 2 years. And it wasn't bad. Like, shoot, we played you my freshman year. I really thought we were going to win. I did. You can't not have that confidence, right? Like, I remember going in like, dang, we're playing Cat. She's coming off winning this gold medal. I was like, but why not us? Why not? Yeah, it was not us that year. But, and then the next year we end up going to the World Series my sophomore year, and we made it all the way to Sunday. And like, I remember there was this like nagging thing in my head, believing we weren't going to win, playing Arizona that day with Candrea and Caitlin Lowe. And I
Yeah.
just was like so in my head, and they beat us twice. And I already set myself up for failure before we even played. So it was learning the different ways to like deal with that mental piece. And that '08 year just kind of catapulted into that of the hard. And I look back now and I don't perform the way I needed to perform under pressure for my teammates if I didn't go through some of the hardest moments in the game in '08. So that year for sure.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I think that's one thing. I mean, we have a lot in common, but we both got to go back to college after an Olympic experience. And, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like that Olympic experience is something, it's like hard to verbalize but you're
Mhm.
just so entrenched in everything with your team that you just get a completely different perspective than what you do year over year in college. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. Going to transition a little bit with you now. Obviously, you're raising 2 girls, but Maddie has been in the limelight with the softball piece and pitching right
Yeah.
now. Just talk about one, did she want to pitch? Did you not want her to pitch? Like I'm
Yeah.
scared. People ask me all the time. I'm like, I hope JC doesn't pitch. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that piece. But if she does, then I'm coming to you for all the answers. But just talk about how Maddie got started and the pitching piece, and how did that come? Did you let it be organic? Was there a little coaxing, no coaxing? Kind of
Yeah.
talk us through that.
So it was obviously, going back to play and come out of retirement. When I first started training that summer of 2017, Maddie was almost 4 and Audrey was almost 1. So they were still really little. So probably in that 2018 fall, Maddie used to come sometimes to my bullpen sessions when I'd have a catcher. And she'd just sit in the back. We'd bring her coloring stuff and she'd sit at the back of the cage and then she'd get the last 15 minutes of the workout, whatever it is that she wanted to do. But she, for some reason, just did love to do the pitching piece. Like when I look back on the videos, like it's some of the sweetest little moments, like looking at how little she was and like no idea what she's doing. And we're just trying to figure it out. And she's watching me work, which I think is definitely super cool. But she really just started by coming to my bullpens and would throw 10, 15 minutes after. We worked together, every year a little bit more, every year a little bit more. And then her first year at travel ball, she was 9, almost 10, and she didn't pitch at all really with that. It was the Snohomish Shock team, and she didn't really get to pitch much. She's always been a great little hitter, can play a little middle infield. She's pretty good, but she's a hell of a hitter. So she didn't really get to pitch a whole lot, but she was 2 years younger than everyone. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. The work that you do in the off season is the most important stuff at times, even if you don't get to pitch a whole lot in the season, right? So then the following 2 years, she started to pitch a little bit more. We switched to the Northwest Bullets. She pitched a little bit more, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And so when her Bullets team was going to be moving up and they're playing 14U and going to be playing in all these 16U tournaments in the state and stuff, I'm like, I'd be an idiot to keep her on this team where she's not pitching that much, where she's going to pitch from 43 feet. Like, we need to give her a year at like her own age group at 12s, pitching from 40 feet, whether she gets to dominate or not. Like, she needs to learn the art of pitching. Like, that's really what I figured out. So this last year, she played with an Acers team. They were hit or miss. They weren't the best team in the state. They'd play some hard games, a lot more pressure on their pitchers, similar to our careers of like, you had to be almost at times perfect when it comes to pitching, or sometimes you're going to lose those heartbreaker games. Her and her other pitchers on the team had to go through a lot of those moments this year. But I felt like she really learned a lot about that, right? Like learning to pitch, understanding the game. And then, you kind of look at, she's always played Little League. Both my girls have always played Little League. It's been a fun thing with Andrew. He's always coached. He loves it. So this year or 2 years ago, Maddie's team lost in state. Okay. So it was like a heartbreaker. They got beat twice in the finals. And I still have the video of her just after the game. And she has these tears and her arms are crossed and just like this swollen face. And I'm like, hell yeah, girl, you should be pissed. Like, it sucks to lose. You should hate losing more than you like winning. And so I'm like, have that video of her and circle back to this year when we went to state. We lost to that same Woodinville team that we lost to twice in the finals. So I'm like, oh shit, it's not happening for us. Like, it's tough to make it with the Little League stuff, to go to the next step and the next step. But at times the hardest part is to get out of state. So we lost that game 1 to Woodinville, and then they played 7 games in a row. And I think the most nervous that I've been the whole summer watching her was when they had to play the back-to-back games against Woodinville. So she had to pitch 12 innings. And I always kind of sit back in the outfield. I don't like to sit with people. I stay to myself, and they ended up winning game 1. And I remember they can take, Little League's strict, dude. Like, you can't talk to the kids in the dugout, like all the things. So in between games, you can. She came, grabbed a sandwich, and she comes up to me and I'm like, yo, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm like, hey, this next game is going to be the hardest game. This team's seen you for 24 innings? Like, now they got to see you another 6. Like, this is definitely me versus you with that pitcher. And it's a little bit harder. You're going to have to like absolutely like just go straight savage on them. And I think that was the coolest thing for me to see, was that she had it in her to be able to pitch 12 innings in a day against the same opponent and continue to keep working and working and working. And the biggest thing that I feel like I try to help her with is like understanding we can't control the last pitch. We can only control the next pitch. And sometimes that's really tricky at 10, 11, 12 to understand that, because we're so like, oh my God, it's not working. It's not working. Okay, I can't control that. I can only control this. So watching her team be able to do what they did and see her almost at times in that day be able to put them on her back and be like, all right, let's go 12 innings. Like, I got you. And so that was a proud moment of kind of the work of the year, of like, the body of work that she's been able to put in the circle to make her feel mentally tough enough to be able to go into a day like that. And you put them into the San Burns situation and me getting to call her game that clinched them to go to the Little League World Series. Like, definitely like emotional for sure. Yeah, I know I say this, but I crossed my fingers. Like, if that was a 0-0 ball game, like, I don't know my emotions up in the booth, like dealing with that. Like, we were lucky we were beating them by a good amount. I feel like for the most part, I've been in this job long enough where I could be pretty like toe the line. Like, I'm not like going to favor my daughter's team or favor Idaho. Like, I'm going to call the game for what it is because that's my job. So I went into that. I know I had meetings with Little League prior to that kicking off of like the do's and the don'ts and calling your daughter's game, and just a full circle moment. I think the proudest I was in that tournament was when they played Oregon game 1, and I wasn't calling that. I think it was Riley West. And we had a bye game 1, but that Oregon team, I thought it was either going to be us or Oregon that made it out. They had a pitcher, Mia Christensen, who's a good little pitcher. Maddie had 14 strikeouts in that game, and I think Mia had like maybe 11 or 12. Like, it was literally a pitcher's duel, but just one of those things you just kind of sit in the stands. I like just watch my kid and I'm like trying to stay to myself. My stomach hurts. I don't feel good. I'm like, what is going on? But I've learned with Little League why I'd get so much more nervous. It's like, if you lose like it is, it's done, right? When you play select, like, I mean, there's way too many damn tournaments. There's way too many things all the time, all the time, all the time. But what makes Little League unique and special is like that road to get where you want to go is really hard. And if you lose, like, your road's a little harder. And then if you lose again, like, you're done. So that's why I think I felt that so much. And when they punched their ticket to go to Greenville, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I didn't know. I always think it's stupid, that the Northwest team has to play the first game of a Little League World Series, being the team that's all the way from the West Coast, playing 3 hours earlier. They're starting at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Like, it's the second year in a row where they're playing that Southwest or the Florida Lake Mary team. And I mean, they got their asses kicked. Like, it was 14-0. It was tough defense, tough hitting. I just felt sick watching that game. And this stupid camera would not stop following me. I'm having Courtney Lyle text me. She goes, the camera's on you again. Like, get it together. And I'm like running over here so they don't know where I am. And over here, like, let me just have this moment of like sitting in this 14-0 loss without trying to dictate how I feel. Y'all know how I feel. This is terrible. So they go through that. They lose that game. And then they have to, I think the next day, we had an off day on the Monday and they had to come back and play Texas. But I think the coolest thing was getting to go back and watch some of that game film with Maddie of just like pitches that look good, pitches that didn't look good. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Like, the emotions, how did your tummy feel going in for the first inning? Like, were you nervous? Were you not? And going into that Texas game, it's cool. Like, I hope your daughter pitches because you can relate to them in a way that not a lot of people can. So the emotions of like games that I've played in high pressure moments, I have this innate ability to be able to connect with her over ways that I got through it, and win or loss, things that help me understand that this is going to be a shitty game. It's going to be really, really hard. But like, how do I get through it? And how can I help you understand what this is going to feel like instead of just throwing them out there blind, right? So it's like we were playing a tough Texas team. We watched them play Monday night against North Carolina. They lost in a heartbreaker 2-1. Avery Cox is their pitcher. I mean, she was anywhere from 62 to 65. She's one of the better pitchers coming out of Texas for 12s. She's impressive. And I'm like, damn it, we're going to go maybe 2-Q here. That's like really what I thought, because it's tough, like we're a true Little League team through and through. Like, we really are. Like, we got a couple select girls, but sometimes there's just a little bit more pressure on Maddie's shoulders when it comes to the pitching piece. But that was my tactic going into that Texas game and saying that to Maddie. I'm like, Avery Cox is pretty similar to you in the sense where like the team is going to go how she goes in the circle. So this is a very much a me versus you. This is an ego thing. This is where you have to dig deeper and know that like one pitcher's coming out winning and one's coming out losing. And am I better than you or are you better than me? Like that stuff is personal and I take that personal. And so like that was the conversation that I had with her and like how she needed to go in there and number one, be different than game one. We can't go in thinking, oh God, screw game one. That's in the past. But like being able to go in and just be better and throw great pitches and execute under pressure, getting to watch her hit a home run, like if they would have won or lost that game, I think that moment was so cool for me to see. I'm sitting by my mom and dad that are there. My husband's parents are there. Like those are kind of moments. There's only been 7 home runs hit out of that park. And in that moment against one of the best pitchers, for her to do that and the look on her face and just probably this sense of like, damn, I can do this. I think that confidence that it instills in you. She's hit home runs. That's not the first one, but it was cool for her to do it at that stage against that pitcher in that moment. Like, that's a big deal. And that was the confidence, I think, that really kind of helped push forward into the rest of that game. I think a little bit of rain helped us. I think, we came out and ended up winning, obviously. And it was just so proud for me to like get to give her a big hug after that game and just know sometimes these kids have the weight of the world on their shoulders. And me being her mom, I didn't cry, but I just felt so horrible for her after game one. I just felt like, me being there and there's just so much more pressure with me being her mom and Andrew being her dad. And it's my World Series crew that's calling these games and it's our World Series camera crew. And I just know everyone. And it just felt, I didn't want it to feel like it was about me. Right. And I know the camera goes to me and there's those moments, but I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about her because she's earned all this. I can help give you the answers to the tests at times, but this is you. Like any story that you write in this game is your story. I'm here to help get you there. Your dad is. And the same thing goes with Audrey, with whatever sport she wants to excel in, if that's the case. But sometimes I didn't like how I was in the mix as I was.
Yes.
But I know that's ESPN and that's the media. And, it is what it is. It's the same thing with Rasmus right now with the Little League World Series. Kinley Rasmus, like, my brother played with Colby Rasmus. That's one of the first questions my parents asked me, right? Like those are the stories. I get it. But beating Canada was cool. Everyone asked where my alliance was on that. I mean, come on. Blood's thicker than water. That's a no doubter. And then playing that Florida team again, it was cool. It sucks losing. I hate losing, but the rain delay, I think, hurt us. But at the end of the day, like, I think I was so proud to see the team get where they got. I can't say that I thought they were going to get there because it is so hard in this little league thing for a lot of things to go right. Some moments, some pitches, some hits. That worked. And then I look back and I think that's something that opens the eyes of these athletes, especially when they're there of like, wow, I think this is something that I want to do. Like I want to be maybe that player, or maybe I want to be someone that gets the opportunity to play this game on television and play it because I love it and because I'm good at it, right? Like as soon as we got home, like I had another work trip in Cleveland, but when I came back, Maddie's like, when are we going to go pitch? And I'm like, she hasn't asked me to go do that like in a long time. So I think it opened her eyes to, man, I believe that I'm good enough. And that's half the battle, right? Because you're gonna struggle, you're gonna fail. We've both done it. It happens. But like, do you believe you're good enough to get your ass up the next day and put the work in, regardless of what just happened the day before? And that's sometimes the hardest part is being 10, 11, 12 and learning that.
Yeah. Through your process with Maddie, and obviously it's been a journey. As you mentioned, she started when she was, little with you throwing in 18 and 19. But, you put out quite a bit on social media. And for our listeners, if you don't already follow Danielle on everything, Facebook, Instagram, all of it, you need to. But a lot of times you put out the harsh truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared one and then I text you because I'm like, man, now I'm getting hate because I just shared your message. And all we're saying is like, hey, at age 10, you don't need 6 pitches. Like,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you have, as you mentioned, Maddie's throwing different pitches. Avery Cox, she's actually in our bomber organization, so I know her pretty well. But, for that age, she has some incredible break.
Yeah.
you watch it, and sometimes now it's controlling that break. But yeah, you don't usually see kids that day with a rise ball that jumps the way hers can sometimes. And so while they have it, it doesn't mean everyone has to have it. But you've
Yeah.
put out some of those hard truths. And I guess my question, at what point in Maddie's journey did you decide, you know what, like I really need to share this because one, it's what I went through. And while yes, times change to a certain point, there are still things, and you mentioned it with the process and just wanting to fall in love with the hard and the monotonous and all that. At what point did you decide, like, hey, this is something that other parents need to hear and we need to share?
Probably really this year, I think. I was like, I need to do a better job of like informing people on the good and the bad, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, when I put stuff out there and people have an opinion about it, that it bothers me, because it doesn't, right? Like, there's plenty of people that don't like my take or don't like how forward I am with things. But, like, at the end of the day, I feel like I've been through a lot as an athlete that carries a good amount of weight. And I'm okay to make someone feel uncomfortable reading it or feeling it. And that's okay if they don't like it. But that means there's probably a good chance that my kid's going to beat yours when it comes down to it. Right? Like, those feelings and understanding the game at a higher level, I just think sometimes these kids are getting coached so soft and parented differently at times, and that's nor good or bad, right? Like, I'm not saying the parenting thing, whatever, that's a whole other cup of tea. But when it comes to like this game and trying to be elite at sports, listen, not everyone has to play sports at a high level. That's it. They just don't have to. I look back on my life and I look back on being dedicated to work my ass off to be great at something, whether that was basketball, whether that was softball. I played basketball all the way up until I graduated. Like, it was cool to work hard at something. I couldn't imagine my kids not having those little goals. And even if it wasn't sports, if it was piano or if whatever it is, I just think it's so important for kids to understand the magnitude of like working hard at something, because that's kind of life. Life doesn't care. And so I don't know. I just felt like this year it's been a lot more important for me to share like the good and the bad. And what's crazy is like, I've had way more people reach out to me this year, like so many people, especially at the World Series. Almost like, what's crazy is they kind of sometimes feel like they know you because they see your Facebook stuff. Like, oh my God, like I saw this, and they connect differently. And that is the crazy part about social media, Kat, is because, listen, just because you see the things that I put out there, you don't know me. And I'm not saying that in a good or a bad way, but sometimes people think that they really like know you, right? And like, that's always the weird part about social media to me, that is never going away. But I just want to try to protect I run Maddie's account for her Instagram and put stuff up there. Sometimes she looks on there. She has a TikTok. I run it on my phone. She can look and sit, but like, I am not in a place for my 12-year-old daughter or 9-year-old daughter right now to be able to go and scroll through stuff. Like, Maddie already saw on my phone a couple things from like the Little League World Series of like TikToks of her in moments where people were saying things and commenting, and it was like a lot of negative stuff. And I could just tell her whole demeanor changed. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, we got to have a chat. I'm like, number one, this is why you don't have access to these things. Number two, all these people, honey, that are commenting, they have no idea. Like, in the moment, all the things. You guys are 12 years old. You're learning, you're navigating your emotions, you're trying to understand it. That's part of the game. Unfortunately, there's just cameras on you. So people feel entitled to tell you how they feel about how you acted in certain moments. But that's okay, right? But like, for that to ruin our day, a random ass person that is typing something, like, so it's starting to help them understand that piece too, cuz like, I'm not giving them free range with that. I don't know when I will, just because I feel like you have to be so strong-headed, right? Like, I used to get and take stuff really personal. Like, I'd have people that would say really negative things or comment about my appearance or the way, like the way my body looked. And I'm like 185 pounds of like wicked strong. And I am damn proud of that. And I have two daughters that are going to look up to me for that strength, because my Maddie's built just like me. She's going to go through the different periods of people commenting about the body and what it looks like, what it should look like, what it shouldn't. And I feel like I have to be a front runner for them with that and that confidence. So I can't sit here and get upset the way people feel on the internet about me, right? And that's why my inner circle is so tight. I don't mess around with a lot of people. I don't have a lot of time. So as you know, like when you have time, you got to spend it with people that like really fill you up, make you feel good, make your family feel good. And yeah, I hope that answers your questions. That was a lot that I just spewed out there.
Well, I think it's important because you hit it. Like, you and I didn't have to grow up with social media, so you can make errors, you can have a bad game, you can, cry over it and even, whatever, and it's not public knowledge. And it's,
Yeah.
it's cool that things have progressed to where, yes, like Little League Baseball World Series has always been on, and that's what we fought. Like, let's get the softball. It's on, but it also means, comes scrutiny and all that. But
Yeah.
take us through like one or two of those conversations with Maddie. Like, you kind of covered it a little bit. Like, okay, hey, we don't need to care what people we don't know think, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, the more you're in this, she's the fact that she's your daughter still is going to always be there, regardless of what level she plays. So how has that conversation happened? And on top of it, just pure like the pressure of being on TV and World Series, like what conversations did you guys have specifically in dealing with those kind of things?
I think when she was going into the TV stuff, especially in Sanborn, it was like letting them know that the game doesn't change. I said this to her whole team before they played. I said the things we have the ability to control, right? Like the energy that we bring in our warm up. And then when we get out there, like we got to play free and we need to enjoy that process. We can't be different because the camera's on us. So that was like number one. I wasn't necessarily worried about Maddie per se in those games. Sometimes it's hard when you have these kids that go on the internet right after and they're seeing all these things. And, it's like they get this flood of emotions of like everyone commenting and saying, and like, oh my God, this was so cool. I love all the positive stuff, but for every positive, there's someone that says something horrible. So it was just, she didn't have any hardcore things to say about me with the Sanborn. Like we didn't really talk a whole lot about the camera stuff besides that the game doesn't change. I think going into Greenville, it was more so like just trying to enjoy the experience and not necessarily feeling like you need validation from like being on your phone or like needing to hear how great you are that way. That sounds like a weird way to phrase it, but like what I really wanted Maddie and her team to understand is that you like kind of get one kick at the can at this thing. Like go be there, enjoy it, be where your feet are at. Like, don't get zoned out by things that aren't important. It's hard. It's hard to try to navigate the whole phone thing with kids, and I'll never forget my dad saying to me maybe 4 years ago, like, I'll never forgive you if you let the internet destroy your kids. And like, I've always kind of kept that in the back of my mind. Because it's scary. That pressure is never going to go away for both of them in the softball world. My husband, I met him in Round Rock, Texas, was playing AAA. Like he was a hell of a baseball player. I was really great at softball. Like they're always going to have that in their back pocket. But I just think it's continuing to reiterate to them, like the work is the work, right? Like I said this to her. Oh, I can't remember what I said it to her. It was a hard conversation. I'm like, dude, you don't just get things because you're my kid and you're your dad's kid. You're lucky. We go to UW and Coach Tar's there and that's all familiar. But like, you don't get an athletic scholarship to go play here because you're my kid. You have to be a freaking dog. You have to be so damn good to get that. Like that shit is earned. And that is not given based on who your parent is. And it seems super cool coming off the World Series. Like, oh, great. Like Maddie did so good and Danielle Lawrie's kid. That's awesome. But that's eyewash. That doesn't mean anything in the bigger picture of like where you really want to go. You have to work really, really hard, really hard. And so it's just reiterating that. So we're switching back to our Northwest Bullets. And I'm so excited to be back with them. I love Dennis. I love Tony. Maddie Husky's one of the coaches. And, Becky Logan, formerly known as Becky Nye, she pitched at Ole Miss. And like, I help when I can. And Andrew's there. And like, I just love the Bullets. And I'm so excited to finally be back with this org, to get a group of like-minded gals that we are like, this year to me is kind of a pivotal year. Like, first year 14s, the standard and the things that we can and cannot get away with need to be the bar needs to be raised higher because Washington State softball just sucks. It's just a reality, right? Like, so how can we better them on every single level to help them when they get to go play these teams and games out of state that they feel like they can go mentally compete? But at the end of the day, like yesterday before I left to fly to Chicago, like we went and, did front toss and she threw BP. And I'm like, hey, today we're just working with a 14-inch ball. Just the 14. We're going to do long toss with the 14. And then I just want you to spin pitches. And she's giving me attitude and she's getting frustrated and she's tired. And we get in the car and I'm like, yo, like I have like a method to the madness of the things that I'm trying to help you with, just so you know. Like it wouldn't be any different if I'm helping Julie over here. Like, yeah, sometimes it may be heard harder coming from me because I'm your mom. And that is the hardest part in our journey is mom and coach. But like there is a method to the things that we do and why I'm doing it with you. I think what's very different, and when I look at my upbringing, was that like my dad was always really, really tough in the sports world, and my mom was always such a soft landing for us. And so it's that fine line between, Andrew's tough on them to a degree for sure. And he knows what he's talking about, which helps. My mom couldn't talk hitting or pitching to save, her life back in the day. But I'm hard on them. I'm really hard on them. I'm hard on them because I know that the world's really cruel. I know that the world is not forgiving. I know that I don't want to raise asshole kids. And I want them to be tough. And I want them to know that like they can do a lot of things. And we have a lot of, she's 12. She pushes back and we have hard conversations with stuff. And I'm like, yo, I ain't your friend. I'm your mom. The amount of times like, can I get TikTok on my phone? Can I have Instagram on my phone? No. Everyone else does it. Everyone else. I don't give a crap about anyone else. And that's the hardest thing is like, because I look like I'm the asshole, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And I never will care unless people are giving me advice, like valid advice from like my inner circle people or people that I, are well respected. Like that's completely different. But like, I don't know. I think the internet ruins kids' confidence. I think the internet is a place where kids go to get built up in ways and they realize real quick that they don't feel like they're good enough or they don't feel like they're pretty enough or their body doesn't look good enough.
Yeah.
And I hate that. And that to me for the females, like if they were to do a study, which they probably have, looking at like kids that are 12 and 13 and 14 and their confidence in themselves in comparison to when you and I grew up, when like, I mean, I had I was not doing no TikTok dances. I was probably using like a freaking plastic spoon doing a fun dance, practicing with my buddies to Celine Dion for like 2 hours. And we had a great time. The times have changed.
Yep.
So the internet it's just that to me always just needs to be monitored for so many reasons. But that and confidence with female athletes, I feel like I say this all the time to gals. Number one, you can put anything out there and you can destroy your career. And number two, if you're watching things that make you feel like shit about yourself, we need to stop watching them. It's not good. It's not help. Like sometimes I'll even catch myself watching someone that's like doing a fitness thing or a high rocks. And I'm like, damn, like, how come like I can only do what I can do. Right? Like we need to know who we are and our worth. And like, we can always push the boundaries, but like my body is not going to look like that. Well, it's just the reality of some things too.
Yeah. One last question I have for you, and then if Holly has anything before we wrap up with our game. If there's one, and now we're going to get pitching specific, like one aspect of pitching that you've instilled in Maddie that you see, because you and I, we call college games, you call the pro games. I mean, I obviously watch, I don't call them, but I see the same thing you do. Like, what is the one piece that maybe you wish you did when you were younger, or you are like, no, Maddie, like this is extremely important. Like, this is the piece you always have to hold on to.
I would say two things. I would say really, really pitch to pitch, like really focus on like that. Sometimes I get spun up real quick, like, oh my God, that didn't work or that mistake. And I wish when I was younger that I knew what I needed more when I struggled. I found that out at Washington. It'd be like a tough weekend and it didn't go the way we wanted. we really need to know our routine and like what does my Monday look like? When I do really great, fine, it's this. We all know we're cruising when we feel great, but like when we don't feel great, I really need to know what I need. No one can give me that. So what does that look like? So those two things. And I do feel like I'm very pitch to pitch with her. And I feel like this next year is going to be a lot about like, hey, what do you need? Like, what do you need to do? What do you need to go down in the garage to go to work and get after? Like physically, like the fitness, like those types of things, I feel like are going to be important for us moving forward in her softball journey.
Nice. Well, you've given us a ton of info. Holly, you got anything?
Actually, I do have a question. I asked Kat this on our last episode, but is there something that you believed like early on in your pitching career that you've completely changed your mind about?
Yeah, you need more than one pitcher. I do think that. I used to think you could get really far with just one, and you could in our
I think
time.
that's
But
what Kat said.
now, yeah, I think I would have loved a staff. Don't get me wrong. I think that our records are never going to be broken because of how much we threw. And I mean, could you imagine if you had someone like opposite of like you, that you could go throw 4 innings and someone comes in and closes or vice versa? Like that's why I loved the Olympics in 2020 because I felt like I had such a different role. Like I would come in and throw the fifth and the sixth or the sixth and the seventh. And there was just such a different element of pressure that I loved being able to come into the game instead of feeling like I needed to go 3 times through the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. All right. We ready for this game?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It is called Know Your Opponent. And so I texted you both previously before the episode, and you both sent the answers in separately. So you guys don't know what each other answered. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. You're going to answer it, and then I'll let you know how the other person thought you were going to answer. All right. So this is for Kat. What is Danielle's favorite strikeout pitch? And then I'll tell you what she said.
I feel like she
do you
knows
think
this
it
for
is?
sure.
Well, I said rise ball, and then but my second one is the change piece.
It's the
All
change
right.
piece for sure.
Yeah. All right.
It's a change
Okay.
piece.
So Danielle, what is Kat's toughest type of hitter to face?
You
What do
want me
think
to
Kat
answer
said?
that?
Oh, no, wait, sorry. Yeah, you already did. Okay. Kat, you
answered
answer,
that.
and then we'll tell you what she said. Yeah.
A lot of times for me, it's the righty power hitters. It's the big righties that can use the long ball.
So
It's
Danielle, do
not
you
what
remember
I
what you said?
said. I
What'd you
did.
say?
I said like, well, I was going based off of the hardest hitters for me, and it was like Caitlin Lowe and like Watley, like those like hardcore slappers were so tough.
See, I shouldn't say I'm not. I say own them. Caitlin will give me a hard time, but because I go lefty on lefty curve away, I don't have as much problem with Caitlin and Tosh. But like for me, it
Yeah.
was like Charlotte Morgan in the pro league. Occasionally it would be Kelly's left-handed, but occasionally it'd be Kelly when I was not on her team.
Yeah.
Bustos, the big power hitters where
I mean,
yeah. I mean, they're hard
Bustos
for
is
every, but like, because I didn't go in hard since I didn't throw as hard. So for me, it was like if I didn't get them out early, the longer the at bat went, I was like, oh,
All right. So you mentioned Tosh. Would you, either one of you guys, would you rather face her when she's swinging away, or what's tougher, when she's swinging away or when she's slapping?
for me, it was tougher for swinging away.
slapping. She'd just tap it and run. She could literally get her barrel on anything. So I'd rather her swing away on me all day. She's tough.
So, all right, Kat. What I asked Danielle. Sorry, I'm getting all mixed up here. Okay.
We're
What
asking
pitch
Danielle.
does Kat think Danielle would throw in a 3-2 count? So Danielle, what would you throw in a 3-2 count? What do you think that Kat said?
Probably a changeup.
Change up.
She changed
Yeah.
piece. Yeah, I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I
All
had
right.
if I had her change up, I'd throw it in a 3-2 count too.
Yeah.
What does Danielle think Kat's biggest strength was as a pitcher that had nothing to do with her physical ability? So Kat, what was your biggest strength as a pitcher that had nothing to do with your physical ability?
I mean, we're similar. She'll probably call it toughness. I had complete trust in all my stuff. Like it didn't matter what you called when. I trusted that I was going to be able to execute the pitch where I needed to pitch.
She
I
said,
said, it's tough to not do the physical stuff. I said, probably the superpower to be able to get hitters out in so many ways. And then mentally knowing that you're just better than everybody else. It was apparent. And then I also said, if you had a better offense, you'd for sure have a national championship.
Yeah.
Because you were good enough.
Right now,
I would that
be like,
Texas team, man. They just couldn't swing it.
I would like all our listeners to know that Danielle called early on last year. We have our ESPN calls, and everyone was talking about OU, if they were going to come back and win again, Kendall Wells. Like everyone had storylines for everyone. And Danielle was like, guys, why are people sleeping on Texas? And I keep my mouth shut when we talk about Texas because obviously like Gabe runs way deep. But Danielle called it early on last year.
And I called it again in the ESPN call this year. And I'm like, why is no one talking about Texas? Like we talk. I think that's also a Tegan Kavan's superpower. No one wants to talk about me. And I've just won the MVP the last 2 years.
Yeah. And then somehow she gets to Oklahoma City and all of a sudden her armor just gets even thicker. It's absolutely crazy. There's a totally different Tegan that comes out. Not that she's not good before Oklahoma City, but Oklahoma City a different. But
it's hard. It's hard all year to be on. You're facing these people know you so well. Like the good ones step up when a regional is super or a World Series. They put the past in the past. She's
be a
incredible.
Yeah, it should be a build up too, especially if you're the stud. Like you take your lumps a little bit early.
Yep.
So this was fun. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I love you're the best storyteller. Like when we were in Texas and, I got to be in that room when you were telling the story about some things that you've gone through and some growth. And I think in general, just like hearing you speak and your ability to just tell your story and tell the story of softball in different ways is great. So I appreciate you. We appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you. I'm glad this worked with our busy lives.
Yes, ma'am. Well, enjoy calling your games this weekend. And
starting tonight, CBS Sports, 6 Central.
We'll have it on here. We will have it on here at the house. Always do. But, love sharing softball with you. Also love sharing life and momhood with you. And we appreciate you for your very candid honesty. I think the world needs more of it. So we're glad you came on the pod to share it.
Thank you. And I hope JC does want to be a pitcher one day. Because I can't wait to see that dynamic.
Go I. Yeah.
We'll have to video a lot of it for you, but she is starting to put the arm's starting to go like this a couple times.
What's the coolest part? Record everything.
Yeah.
Like I go back and look at like the sweetest little videos of her pitching, and then I look now, and it's so cool to go. Like we didn't have that as much when we were growing up, right? Like I try to record so many moments. Like I even bought this like really nice camera. Like I have so much fun capturing them in these moments because I just feel like we're going to be able to look back on them and. It's so special seeing it. So like capture everything you can, especially when they start playing sports. It's fun.
Perfect. Well, will do. Send me the link to that camera.
Yeah.
Along with everything else you link that I buy.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. This is a second episode of season 2 of our Pitcher Perfect podcast. We thank Danielle for joining us. You guys can follow her on social media. It's pretty much at Danielle Lawrie 15 on everything.
Mm-hmm.
She shares the honest truth and a lot of good stuff about pitching as well. And you can always catch her in the college and pro seasons on ESPN, calling a lot of those important games, the World Series, all the things. So thank you, Danielle. And we will see everybody next time.